Let's get into our last conversation for the day. Actually, it's on Down syndrome, and we're speaking, talking about awareness on Down syndrome, speaking to a parent to a child with Down syndrome on what exactly the process looks like from diagnosis, from early signs, then from coping with it, from a financial perspective, from a mental perspective, and then what structures exist as far as supporting parents of children with Down syndromes and the children themselves. So of course we have Ken in studio, Mugane. I hope I've said your name correctly.
Yes, you have.
Ken Mugane. Yes. Thank you so much for coming.
Asante.
It's good to have you.
Same here. Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Right.
Yeah.
I love the huskiness of the voice. It's Dr. Love. That's how he talks.
I should probably try something like that.
You really should. I mean, just the voice is what carries the day. So you don't even have to give good advice. Just say things like aspire to inspire. Boom. There you go.
And money flows.
And money flows. I should change careers. Cindy. Yeah.
Can you have a child with Down syndrome?
Yes, I do.
And from our conversations with you, this child is how old now? 11?
Yes, turning 11 in December. Yeah.
What is Down syndrome?
So Down syndrome is a chromosomal condition that comes about during conception. So typically, every human being has 23 pairs of chromosomes. So during conception, the mother donates 23 chromosomes and the father 23, so they pair up. So what happens with Down syndrome is that there's a third copy on the 21st pair. So instead of it being a pair, they end up being 3.
Okay.
Yeah. And that leads now to, so it was detailed by Downs, that's why it's called Down syndrome. And then now it leads to developmental issues in children that are born with Down syndrome.
So it's an extra chromosome?
Yes, an extra
We have
chromosome.
46.
Yes, so typical human beings have 46. People living with Down syndrome have 47. Yeah.
Where does the extra one come from?
Science has not been able to explain that yet.
And they can't tell whether it came from the father or the mother?
No. There's a genetic angle to it. But again, there are various types of Down syndromes. One that is traced to genetics, but typically no one knows where it shows up from. So you cannot say because there was Down syndrome in our family, then I am going to have children with Down syndrome.
Okay.
And that's important to note because I've seen
so it's not hereditary?
No. Okay, there's an element of hereditary in some bits, but it's not directly seen as hereditary, which means I've seen parents who have a child with Down syndrome and they're worried about should we try for a second baby because they think the chances of that happening, that they may get the second child having Down syndrome, and the risk is very minimal that you would have we call it striking gold twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens then when this child has Down syndrome?
So what happens is there are a lot of developmental delays in children with Down syndrome. If you've handled children, you notice by around the second month, the child the neck has firmed up, so it's no longer floppy. You will realize with children with Down syndrome that doesn't happen. And so you'll find a 5-old-month child with the neck still floppy, and it's difficult to even hold them. And then, of course, now we call them delayed milestones. So at the age where a child should sit, you realize that hasn't happened. At the point that the child needs to start crawling, that doesn't happen. So all those things come much later in the child's development.
But they will come?
They will come. Okay. What happens is you need loads of therapy, occupational therapy, to help firm up the muscles, to help trigger the reflexes that lead to the normal development of a child. Yeah.
That is the genetics, not maybe the science behind it. Then there is I want to call it like society's fear of diagnosing Down syndrome. You've given us, some indicators, which is delayed developmental milestones.
Yes.
How, in Kenya, let me use Kenya as an example. When do parents typically find out that their children have Down syndrome?
Down syndrome. Well, the truth of the matter is that that is something that can be checked even during pregnancy. Yeah. A lot of developed countries have actually taken the route of terminating pregnancies once they discover someone is having such conditions. Yeah. There's a whole ethical debate around that. Yeah. In terms of, are you playing God? Are you, so we don't do that in this country.
Let me ask, at what point of pregnancy can Down syndrome be diagnosed in the fetus?
I'm not a medic, so I'm not very sure of the timelines, but I know it is possible. When they do the scans, they're able to tell that, based on either the head circumference or I don't know what measures they use, they can tell clearly this is a child that is going to be born with Down syndrome.
Okay.
Yeah.
But go on, you were saying.
So, like in our particular case, the diagnosis was done at around month 3. Because he got out of hospital, and then there are the follow-up checkups that you go to the pediatrician, and we could see some sort of concern on her face, asking, is this child getting enough sunlight? Might it be a vitamin D issue? And so at around month 3, she was like, hey guys, I think there's a problem here that we need to test. So there's a test called the chirotype test, which now confirms not just the Down syndrome itself, but what type, because I think there are 3 different types of Down syndrome.
Okay.
Some parents get to discover much later. There's a whole health gap in terms of how our country is set up.
The knowledge of our health.
Healthcare
workers, right?
Healthcare workers, because I've seen parents who, just bring up their child and they can see there's something wrong with the child and they don't know what it is, especially in, rural areas where access to medicine is not really good. And the danger of that is that if you don't do early intervention, then by the time you're trying to do the intervention, sometimes it's a little bit too late to go as fast as you'd have wanted. Yeah, so there's a whole challenge there. Yeah.
So at the point, now take us through your journey with your baby.
Yeah.
So at this point when the doctor says, let's do some further tests, and they did the tests.
Yes.
Did they explain to you why you needed to do tests and the likelihood of the outcome? Because at this point I'm suspecting the pediatrician can already sense,
can already tell
what's going on, but they want just to confirm.
Just confirm, because clearly she had suspected something was wrong, because when we did when a child is born, there's a scoring that they do on the card. So in our case, Mugane had been scored, I think, 7, and then it had been cancelled and then put to a 9. Out of 10. Which later now we realized the pediatrician was thinking, what's the issue here? So by the time she told us now that we have to do the tests, I think it was just to confirm what she already knew. As a parent already, I could also tell there's something a bit off, because that's our 3rd child. I have 2 elder ones. So I had experience in terms of, how do kids grow by month 1, how do they look like, how is the eye movement, and I could tell something's a bit off with Mugane. So when the test came back positive, that's when now the pediatrician called us into her office. It was actually a very emotional breaking of news, because she started crying and praying with us, and
the pediatrician.
Yes, and I'm shocked. I'm wondering, Jesus Christ, what's going on? Because I'm thinking, if the medic is the one crying,
what should my reaction be?
We must be in for a very tough time. But yeah, my wife and I then went home and researched just to, gather all the information that we could. The pediatrician also gave us some breeding material.
Right.
And then immediately referred us to an occupational therapist. So we were lucky that we started our therapy at around 3.5 months. Which has really, really helped, because the earlier you start, those delayed milestones then start checking in a bit earlier than they would have had there not been any intervention.
What's occupational therapy?
What people typically call physiotherapy. Yeah. So it's let's use the word massage for lack of a better word. The occupational therapists know which areas of the muscle to press and massage and to trigger, because so apparently I came to learn these things that we take for granted, that your baby will crawl, your baby will sit up, your baby will stand, okay, your baby will start walking. All those are milestones that are triggered at the right time, just naturally. Yeah. So children with Down syndrome, then that sort of triggering needs to be induced, for lack of a better word. Yeah? So that's what the occupational therapist now does.
Right.
Then there's a whole issue with balance. So I remember we had a swing where the baby would be spun round, and then the swing is inaachiliwa, then they spin back in the opposite direction, just to try and get the balance straight. So it's a whole journey. It's a whole journey. We did that for about probably 2 years. Yeah. And like you had said earlier, there's a whole financial implication on that. Because our public hospitals are not equipped with the occupational therapists. Some are far flung from where people are living. And remember, this is a child who's not walking, so there's a whole issue of how do we get them to the hospital in the first place. Yeah. Our personal journey was, let me say, easier, because the doctor agreed to come home. So we would do the therapy 3 times a week. He would drive over, do an hour session, and then leave. So, but there's a whole expense tied to it, because you'll find typically a session will cost anything between 3,000 to 5,000, 6,000. So if you're doing
one session,
yeah.
So
how long is a session?
3 a week, 1 hour.
About an hour or so. Yeah. So yeah. So
if you're doing 3
a week, then that's about
it's 9
to 12,000 maybe, depending.
And a month.
Yeah, so if in a month, that's, say you're clocking
50 to 64,000.
Yeah, it's quite a challenge. It's quite a challenge, and my hope is that, because I've seen in developed countries, there's a whole focus on people that require help. Unfortunately, maybe because of our resources as a country, not so much focus is put towards people that have such conditions, not just Down syndrome, but the rest. That's
all the other developmental issues.
Yeah.
Does this reduce? Does the need for physiotherapy reduce as the child is developing?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Because remember, the target is for the occupational therapist to get the child to
hit the milestones.
So once the child now is able to walk properly, then the rest just kick off. But the journey between firming of the neck at month 2 or 3 to the point that the child now is able to comfortably walk, go up the stairs, that's a whole journey.
That's a
whole journey.
What about speech?
Yeah, so what we did is, after we completed the occupational therapy, then you need to do speech therapy, because one of the other manifestations of Down syndrome is that speech is impaired. Yeah, so I remember having to to go to Gertrude's, thrice a week for another maybe 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So again,
that cost.
The cost of that is also huge.
I'm assuming it ranges around the same as.
Yes.
Around 3,000 to 5,000.
Exactly.
Three times a week.
3 times a week. So for a 1 hour session. So it became my normal routine. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I have to block off my whole morning, take the child, and it's difficult. They're fighting. They are wondering why you're bringing me here. They don't want to participate, and so you have to just keep at it.
Ken, what do you do for a living? Because to block off 3 mornings a week.
Okay, so luckily I am self-employed. I'm an electrical engineer by profession. I run my own farm, so it's it made it a bit easier.
Your flexibility.
The flexibility now worked for me. But you can imagine someone who maybe both parents are doing a typical 8 to 5 job.
Yeah. Yep.
And there's no possibility of the therapist coming home. That becomes now a challenge to deal with. Or even worse, that maybe you're even available, but you don't have the funds to do that. Okay. The other thing I might want to add there is that we have a whole problem with the insurance sector in terms of how they look at such
how do they
conditions.
categorize
such? Okay. So you'll find a lot of them having exclusions for what they call congenital conditions. That because you are born this way, we are not going to cover, occupational therapy, or we're not going to cover speech therapy, which I don't know how that would be handled. I wish our
what's the legality of
would
this?
do better, in terms of just, I don't know, coming up with some laws that force, insurance companies to take care of such things.
Yeah. I'd love to speak actually to the Insurance Regulatory Authority on how that's not an illegality.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and even
because insurance comes in all these two exclusions that come in, at that point because you were born this way, and at this point because by the time you are coming to take the policy, you already had this condition.
Pre-existing condition.
Exactly. And so that's what they use now to wiggle out of that.
And I still don't understand. Again, how those are not illegalities. Anyway, we'll have someone from the IRA put a mental note there.
But which I find actually ridiculous because. So here's the thing. Children born with Down syndrome, a huge number of them come with a lot of health issues. The most common being cardiovascular issues. So a big number of them are born with a hole in the heart. So I belong to an organization, I'll talk about it later, but we can see the number of members that have to take their children to India for treatment is really, really huge. And a lot of them pass on, by the way, in the early years. We were lucky in our case that Mugane did not have, such health issues. But the point I was trying to make about insurance is that, you will find that a typical child has used way much more in terms of insurance because they are sickly. They got pneumonia. They got hospitalized for a month here. And the total insurance consumption of my other 2 children is way higher than the speech therapy which the insurance company is refusing to pay. Cover. So I'm like, how is the math going in this particular case? But it's something that needs to be looked at for sure.
Let's talk about. Okay, let's actually, now that we're there, let's dive a bit further into the support that you get in the healthcare system. So private insurance companies will come up with all that fine print and tell you this is a congenital condition, so we cannot cover. Do they give you the option of paying an extra premium for them to cover?
Not that I'm aware.
That did not exist in your case. You never came across
that. Maybe because so typically, Down syndrome is the most common chromosomal condition in the world. The numbers are about 1 to 1,000. Okay, or rather 1 out of every 1,000 people are born with Down syndrome. Yeah. So maybe, for example, for a country like Kenya, if we take 55 million people, then you see 1,000 of that would be what, 55,000. So maybe even from a policy perspective, government is thinking, 55,000 guys, and we have millions to take care of. Where do we take our resources? So yeah, maybe there's an angle to that, of that the numbers maybe are not
not high enough.
Not high enough.
But was that so did you also get any support at the point when Mugane was born? It was NHIF. Did NHIF offer any support?
Not in terms of of course during the maternity phase, yes, but
for the therapies,
after that, for the therapies, no.
Okay.
No, for the therapies, no. Yeah.
And you can see the cost that it comes with.
Incredibly heavy.
Oh yeah, it is.
You obviously, it's been 11 years. You like you said, you belong to a network of now people who are raising children with Down syndrome, and you've heard their stories are similar to your story. As you're raising these children.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are all of them saying the same thing? That first of all, in terms of financial burden, you're on your own?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yes.
Now, when it comes to the awareness and the expertise of our health professionals, how is it? Let's remove Ken Mugane's parents from an urban area like Nairobi.
Okay.
Let's take them to a place in Shags. And this child is born.
Yes.
And the child is going through clinic. What are the chances that nurse at that initial clinic will, or even the doctor at the initial clinic, the clinical officer that they see at the local dispensary will pick it up?
Actually, Down syndrome is a very easy condition to pick up, okay? Because it comes with very distinct physical features, okay? If you look at a child with Down syndrome or a person with Down syndrome, you'll be able to tell. So there's a flattened nose, a flattened face. The ears are set slightly below the eyes. If you look at the palm of your hand, you'll see typically three lines. Yeah?
Yes.
They're called palmar creases. Yeah. People with Down syndrome typically have one.
Oh, okay.
So instead of these three, it's one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the digits, the fingers and the toes are slightly shorter and stubby. If you look at the toe, the big toe and the next one, the gap is much bigger than in typical persons. So it's easy to.
So there are physical ways in which you can just pick up.
You don't even actually need to do that karyotype test for you to see that this person has Down syndrome. So it's picked up, and I would imagine any person who's gone through a medical training would be able to see that. But I don't know whether it's an issue of how we practice our medicine in this country, because I've had parents going. So there's a registration process for people with neurodiverse conditions, and I've had parents saying that they went to be for their child to be tested, and they've been told in those Ushago clinics that you're talking about, government hospital, that we only do these at 5 years old. Which now begs the question, we know early intervention is a way important to go. So then why put an age barrier for you to start therapies that should have started 5 years ago? It's ridiculous, man. I
want to thread on that, actually, because I was going to ask what the lack of intervention does as far as these developmental milestones for someone with Down syndrome. So assuming, what's the difference between starting occupational therapy at 3 months versus at 5 years?
Oh, there's a whole lot of difference. I have seen children who didn't do any therapy, having very, very difficult physical conditions. Walking, for example, becomes a challenge. Yeah, they either then don't walk at all and have to be wheelchair bound, or you can see, this person really walking is not their thing. A few meters and they're tired. And you see now the other thing is there's an intellectual deficit that comes with the condition. So now if you get someone who might be intellectually challenged and then is also physically challenged, you see now it becomes double the trouble that would have been in the first place.
Right.
So and that's why we really push for early intervention.
So which is what it's sad to hear now that some government clinics will say until they're 5.
Yes, until they're 5.
By that time we've lost an incredible amount of time.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Let me get into the education system. Yeah, I know.
That's please get there.
What does our education system, our policies, our laws, what do they say about education for persons with congenital conditions? That's one. Number 2, what level of training exists for teachers to be able to handle said students? Let me begin with public education, which is ideally where this should be happening.
Now here's a problem. Again, I don't know whether it's a resource issue from a government position, or it's just people not, being well versed in how to do this. Because if you go to a school that says they call them a comprehensive school, so you say we'll take the typical children and we'll take children with these other conditions, Down syndrome, autism, or whatever else it is out there, you find that they're all lumped together. Okay, so in a typical setup, you'll find there's almost a special class for special needs children. Now the problem becomes if you lump children with all those conditions together, learning becomes almost impossible. Because, for example, if you know something about autism, you'll know those children get triggered by, noise, and they can have fits and all that. So,
lights.
Lights, color, whatever it is. And children with Down syndrome love colors. Like, it's a whole color thing for them. We almost say, like, they see through color, So now if you bring this child who wants a lot of light and colors and then put them in the same class with
someone who's
being triggered by that, it becomes really, really problematic. And then you will find that the teacher has not much time to spend on the special needs students, and yet, the majority of the class is typical children. So on the public side of things, they then try to push our children towards special schools. I have a whole problem with that again, because the essence of education and this socialization in school is that these people now will become productive members of society. They know how to deal with the wider society. So if you take them to special schools,
also interacts with them.
Exactly. So that now we both now, if I'm a special needs child, I have now known how to interact with typical people, and the typical person has also known how to interact with me. So if you take this category of people to a special school, then they will not get the social skills to deal with how life just pans out. And then us who are typical have then lost the chance to interact with these people. So at the end of schooling, if we call it that, how do these people merge back into society and become productive? So
that's public.
Let's
go private now.
So
and
private,
give us cost as well.
So now private again. One, not many schools accept special needs students. Some actually have a very strict policy that we will not take your child. because I remember when we were starting schooling for Mugane, we moved around a bit, and some would outrightly tell you, no,
we don't have the capacity.
We don't have the capacity to take care of this child, and there's also a social aspect to it. Private schools are profit driven. Yeah, so some schools will tell you,
the other
parents do not want this. Yeah, so then now that becomes problematic. But a few schools say yes, you can bring your child. Of course, now the cost will be a bit higher because they need a bit more care. Some allow you to have a shadow teacher, which is also another expense on you as a parent, because then the shadow teacher goes and sits in class with your child as the main teacher is teaching, and then now tries to guide your child towards getting whatever material is being taught. So that's how the education side appears.
And then that also has, because of, if you're just there with a shadow teacher, then there are very many questions among the other children in class. And with this child, the child was just wondering, I'm feeling like I'm seated here, but I must have another teacher who's explaining things further to me. There has to be a lot of counseling that goes with that, so the child understand. But weirdly enough,
and also that the other
and the other children as well.
understand.
Yeah, but you would be shocked by the you would be shocked. Children are very accommodating. Us grown-ups are the ones
who have issues.
We are the ones that have issues, by the way. In Mugane's schooling journey, so we got a school that we took him to. That was 2020, just before COVID. So he went to formal school for a term, and then schools were closed. But the school had typical children and children with special needs. I remember in Mugane's class, he was there with Down syndrome. There was a boy who was autistic, and the other children, they didn't seem to care. No. Like they would play. Normally they would take Mugane and go to the sand pit and take the other boy. I think his name was Keegan, and they would go play. Children have no issues, by the way. Us grown-ups are the ones who see those things
and make them
into a big deal. Yeah,
Someone is concurring with you here on YouTube. This is a Kikombe. He says, behind every parent of a child with additional psychological or physical needs is a painful financial burden that can further hinder a child's development progress. Well done to Ken. He also adds, Mariam, lack of early intervention can lead to insane underdevelopment of gross motor skills like sitting, walking, poor muscle tone, poor self-feeding, and even poor speech development, and obesity as well. He says, we struggle as a country with equity and inclusion in our schools. I am meant to be in a public school that is physically resourced to include students with needs. Private schools, expensive. I think he's just concurring with you. And he's an educator.
So that's someone who knows
what they're talking about. I would love to hear from Kikombe as well. Where is Kikombe based?
In Phuket.
In Phuket, in Thailand, yes. What does the education system in Thailand do in terms of course, taking care of students with congenital diseases or congenital, do you call them diseases, actually? Is that the correct word?
No.
Congenital?
Let's just call them neurodivergent conditions.
I think that's correct.
Neurodiverse conditions,
yes.
right?
Neurodiverse. That covers everything. Yes. So what does the education system in Thailand actually do? Is it any different from what we're seeing here? The expense of it from a public and private perspective? I think it would be very nice to see from your perspective as well. Yeah. Actually, the language was what I was going to get into. So neurodiverse, neurodivergent conditions being an umbrella term for autism, Down syndrome, ADHD. Does that now also bring a problem because, again, they're lumped together, same way as in the classroom, in society, even in policy? Is it?
Yeah, of course, that's part of the problem. And again, I think, like I said earlier, from a policy perspective, I think it just depends on who's driving what. Okay, if you look at these special needs, let me pick, for example, albinism, which is classified as that. You'll find there has been quite a bit of interventions on that line, even policy-wise, and I think also it's propped up by having so for example Isaac Mwaura, who then he becomes easier, national leader, it becomes easier to push that agenda, vis-a-vis having very unknown people having the other conditions there. So
people call them actually invisible disabilities.
Exactly.
Because in many ways you don't just pick out this person has this condition. And so there is even the categorization of it by government becomes
exactly, and that's why you find there's a lot of support available for physically handicapped people. Conditions that we see. If someone has a physical condition, maybe they don't have one leg, or it's easy to see this guy or this lady has an issue that we need to help them. But if you're walking normally and you look okay and you're probably speaking, people don't really get to know, like you're saying, invisible conditions in that manner.
And so, when it comes to government, how is this classified in terms of disability?
I remember when we were doing Huduma number, and there was a big push of where do you tick in the list that was drawn up there, because of course now there was a physically handicapped, albinism, conditions that are well known and can be seen. And then we were like, wait a minute, and then also autism has gotten a bit of traction in terms of visibility in the country, so that was there. And then there's no Down syndrome, so we are wondering, where do we tick? And then there's a box down there for
please don't say other
mental disorders. Okay, and so now we are like, okay, is it a mental disorder? Because then how do you classify that? And then if as a government you're lumping ADHD, Down syndrome, all these other conditions as mental disorders, you can already tell that there's very little focus policy-wise on how to take care of such people if you've lumped them all together and called them mental disorders. And that term also comes with stigma.
It does.
So
it has a different meaning. So is Mugane registered with the Council for Persons with Disability?
Yes, with disability, yes.
So under what category?
So we really pushed. Finally, they added those boxes to just try and specify a little bit more, which also helps government in terms of policy, because then you can say in this country we have 100,000 people with ADHD, we have 50,000 people with Down syndrome. Then you can be able now to put in your resources knowing the numbers properly. But again, I also think government also should do a better job in terms of that registration process. There are a lot of people who, one, don't know that they need to register, where the registration centers are. There's a lot that needs to be done on that end.
Senator Crystal Asige, who has pushed this new amendment to the Persons with Disability Act, was saying the first thing that the government ought to do is conduct a census.
Exactly.
Because already the data that the government has on the persons with disability in Kenya is erroneous.
Completely.
The global averages for a country and the people with disability in a country,
this
is what we have here.
They don't match up at all.
We should be in levels of tens of millions, and yet we are in like about 1 or 2 million in our number. And she says, what we should first have is, can we do a census? Of all the persons with disability, and maybe in that census, then we start now categorizing,
of course,
all the way down into what level of disability we're talking about, and then so that the government can start working on policies and programs on the interventions that are needed for each of them.
Yes.
But all these things we are saying are things that the government knows.
Absolutely.
If you went to the Council for Persons with Disability, they'll tell you all these things. You need to do this, the other. If you went to the State Department for Special Programs, they will tell you, yes, we need.
True.
Treasury will tell you.
Yes. But you see,
so
also,
why don't we do it? I think
there's also an angle of government money in this country is spent to do politics. Okay, so you will find, maybe like you said, if the special programs ministry, there must be a budget for such things. Okay, but we would then rather have those people doing food distribution and calling the media, and
of course,
it then becomes
to be seen to be doing.
Exactly, because really, if we wanted to do a census of people living with special needs in this country, it shouldn't be hard. It shouldn't be hard. I mean, we have the provincial administration all the way down. If government wants to push something, you see how quickly they push it.
We've seen it. We've seen it.
Exactly.
We know when they want to, they do.
So
there's a few comments coming in. I just want to read some of them, and I also want to talk about community, but we'll get to that in a little bit. This is Kikombe has answered the question. He says Thailand has a legal and policy framework to support inclusive education. Overall, there's acceptance. However, social stigmatization affects a good number of students, especially in rural areas. He says he works with students with diverse and physical and learning needs. Kids are very inclusive. It's the adults who have been taught to fear the unknown, posing students with needs as a stigma. Bakari Sagna says, focus on inclusivity for special needs education children is a great step forward. Is that what SNE children means? I'm guessing. So it's a great step forward. Ask Ken whether he recommends replacing braille machines with standard computers. It's an interesting one. Another comment here from Oli Oli says some of those who lack early intervention end up being locked and hidden from society, especially in informal settlements.
True.
We are agitating for inclusion in all walks of daily life. And that is something you see quite a bit. You see stories, exposés of someone who has been locked since they were a child into adulthood, basically shackled.
And if I can just comment on that briefly. I don't even think it's a Nushago thing at up country. That's where children are hidden. You would be shocked, even in urban centers, and not just in the poorer communities. I mean, just everywhere. Because this thing starts with parental acceptance. Okay, you as a father or you as a mother accepting that this child has come in this particular manner, and I'm going to do everything in my powers to help this child become, a functional adult. Okay, because I've seen, people that I relate with very closely are not wanting to take their children to social spaces, not wanting photos of their children taken. There's a bit of stigma associated with that. Now, what I have come to realize is that if, as a parent, you are accepting that situation and the child sees that, I'm good, this is fine, those children hit their milestones faster. They become functional faster. Okay, the children that have been taught to be hidden away, not to attend social functions, not to interact with their friends, their speech becomes much more problematic than the kids who are exposed out there. One of the things we decided, my wife and I, about Monene, like from day one, we'll bring this guy up like he has no issue.
Like his siblings.
So we've disciplined him the right way, the same way as we did the sisters. If there's a social function, we go. If there's a swimming thing, we go. He's even done swimming galas, because we are like, if you ask Munene, now that he's become older, he now knows there's something called Down syndrome. He'll even sometimes introduce himself as, my name is Munene and I have Down syndrome. And I keep telling him, it might not be necessary to add the last part, but now he's accepted that's how he is. But, very outgoing guy. If you ask him, I don't think he even knows what having Down syndrome means, because for him, he lives his life normally,
just like his sisters.
Just like his sisters. We took a decision to homeschool our children during COVID. Schools were closed. Everyone became a homeschooler for a few months, and then we didn't go back to school after that.
You adjusted.
We adjusted, and that has been our life now for the last 5 years. It has worked perfectly for him because children with Down syndrome have a shorter attention span, so taking them to a formal classroom becomes, challenging. But at home, the tutor comes, he gets tired, he's told to go outside, play the dogs for 5 minutes, comes back, his mind is, refreshed, he sits down, continues his class. I mean, for his age, he's doing year 4 work, so he's right about there.
He's right there,
in terms of education. But that is as a product of all those early interventions, the occupation therapy, the speech therapy. In fact, now we have now commenced a second round of speech therapy. They call it articulation therapy, because the sisters are involved in debate and public speaking. And the other day he comes and says, I want to start doing debate like my sisters. But I think people don't understand me very well. So what can you guys do for me?
Love that.
Yeah. So now we had to look around, and now we found, So now we have found a speech therapist that now is going to take him through articulation, because he speaks pretty well, but there's some words that are still challenging. His diction is off in a bit here and there. So now just getting therapy to help him, speak better. Because he wants to do debate.
For articulation.
But again, like I said before, finances.
Yeah. And I just thinking through everything that you have said, I can see the bills piling.
Yes.
Community is another thing that I really wanted to talk about. What kind of community do you have that's enabled Mugane to also hit these developmental milestones to be at this point? And what's the ideal community for a person with Down?
Well, first of all, I think it just needs acceptance from everyone, from the parents, from the general populace, that, these people with special needs, whether it's Down syndrome, autism, ADHD, whatever it is, that we become an accepting society. Okay? Because the children will thrive in that sort of community. But specifically for Down syndrome, so what happens, some mothers it's always the mothers, right? And hats off to the mothers. Some mothers got together and formed an organization. It's called T21 Families Support Organization. So it was formed by, mothers, among them my wife and her friends, just because they needed a place to vent. So they would meet and cry. In fact, their first meetings used just before tears. Tears and chai.
Wow.
They cry. And then from that, they formed a WhatsApp group. Now it became a CBO. So any new parent and then ultimately, even us guys now, the dads formed our own group for the fathers. So any new parent getting into our space is quickly hugged
absorbed,
and told, come in, these are the interventions available, don't give up. If you need a contact for a cardio doctor, talk to this. If you need a speech therapist, see this. If it's an occupational therapist, see this. So, and the reason we created a family support group is because such support does not exist
there's no formal
structure to help parents go through that. Because like I said earlier, if the parents are not okay and accepting of the fact that their child has come with special needs, trust you me, that child is not going to thrive. So that social structure, the community, first deals with the parents.
I love that.
So that then we can be better parents for our children.
Better caregivers. They say you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
We are literally out of time.
Seems like we've spoken for just 10 minutes.
I know, time flies, but this was so insightful. Thank you so much, Ken. In 30 seconds to a parent, a guardian of a person, a child with Down syndrome, tell them something in 30 seconds, and also to a person or a child with Down syndrome, 30 seconds.
All right. So to start with the parents, the first thing I always say is accept. Just accept. Because whether you accept or not is not going to change the fact that your child has come the way they've come. So first accept it and then seek help. Like I said, if you go to social media, type T21 Family Support Organization, you will find a lot of info on that, and there are groups that can help you as a parent be able to maneuver that phase. If you're a child living with Down syndrome, I hope you're getting the support that you need. but just live your life, man. You know, just live. I see I have become a better human being because of my son. People that knew me before, I was this very rough guy, very impatient guy. I had zero time for, you know, hey, if you're crossing me, I cross, you know. But since Mugane came into my life, I've become more
mellow.
I've chilled out.
You give grace. You have time for somebody else.
Exactly. Because now, if I don't do that in my own home, then I'm hurting this boy. So I've learned to just chill. If you're taking a walk and the child says they want to stop because they've seen a butterfly, how many times do you realize there are butterflies around as a grown-up? We don't. We just run through life.
Just moving.
You know, and
thinking that we're living. But it's chasing the butterfly, that's living.
So these kids have also taught me that we miss so much as grown-ups because we're in a rush to do everything. You're in a rush to come to the studio. I'm in a rush to go to my biashara. The child is thinking, hey, see, I've just seen a beautiful butterfly.
Let me.
Ukijiuliza unaharakisha kwenda wapi?
Exactly.
Truly. Where? The grave? No.
Ken, thank you, Ken. Thank you. And even our fixers online are saying thank you for sharing your story. Why are you saying the same? Kombe is saying, I like the story that Ken has shared today. So asante sana. And even your cousin, Julie, has said, Julie, following my kuzo.
Nice. Thank you very much. Julie.
Right. So every year on the 31st of October, the world marks World Cities Day to reflect on urbanization and sustainable development. The National Media Group, in partnership with key stakeholders, is hosting the Smart Cities Forum 2025 today and tomorrow at the Two Rivers Mall. It's bringing together government leaders, private sector players, urban planners, academia, innovators, and others at the Two Rivers Mall. We are crossing over there. So as we conclude this conversation here today, we are going over into Two Rivers Mall. Tomorrow, we'll be taking the mic to that ground to discuss about smart cities. So we'll be there tomorrow morning at Two Rivers Mall as well, fixing the nation from there, discussing smart cities. So thank you for tuning in. Have a lovely day today. Let's cross over to Two Rivers. See you there tomorrow.